anything else cruel to the station that you may feel should be known about, please email blacksquirrelradio.ksu@gmail.com with the show name, date and time, and general statement. Again, please email blacksquirrelradio.ksu@gmail.com with the show name, date and time, and general statement if you hear something BSR would not want on the platform. Thanks for keeping BSR a respectful environment. What is going on? Welcome back to a brand new episode of In a Flash. Today we actually have a guest in studio with us. How's it going, Matt Crowley?
What's going on, Katie? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course, not a problem. Welcome, welcome. This is episode 3 here, and it's once again another busy form of week with Kent State sports.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, coming right hot off of Wednesday, and then also just everything that's happened over the weekend. We got MAC championships coming up for both women's and men's basketball. Honestly, I think where we should start is speaking of MAC championships, we should start with track and field winning this past weekend.
Yeah, that program has really been a staple in terms of just consistent victories, titles, that type of thing. And it really shows. I actually am the public address announcer for the meets in the field house, and you can tell, like, right off the jump that this team was destined for greatness. And especially a guy that sticks out to me is Alexander Shields. He was the 60-meter dash champion. He tied a facility record in terms of the Kent State indoor field house. And that team, led by head coach Nathan Fanger, has really gotten those guys going. And it really was only a matter of time before they ended up improving it out on the track.
I know, because with this MAC conference, like the indoor championship title, this was their second in their program, the first coming in 2009. You mentioned Nathan Fanger. He received the MAC Coach of the Year award following this win. I mean, it's an all around is very impressive team. Aiden Beth contributing a team high of 20 points in 3 different events. I mean, you can go on and on talking about this team and like the different things that they were able to do. I mean, 5 individual MAC champions and individual different. And we also had like first time podiums from several different, like, it's just very just outstanding.
It is, and I feel as though that a big reason why we, the Kent State Golden Flashes, have hit that mark is because Nathan Fanger was a throw guy. That's what his bread and butter is. And every time there's been one event where Kent State seemingly is always in the top 3, because when I announce that, it's always the top 3 finishers in each event. And Kent State always had to seem to have someone in that podium level. And I felt like that was kind of how they kind of catapulted this, not only on the men's, but on the women's side as well. So that was really a strength in this team. And that kind of propelled them to this title for the first time, like you said, in a long time, since 09.
I know, that's a very long time. And, you're saying that these different names just propelling them to be able to get those different podium, like, standings and whatnot. When KSU started the weekend, they weren't in the top 3. I believe they started the weekend in like top 5, and they had to win those and place in those different events to be able to go back. Their final score like ended up being 155 points. That was 15 more than Eastern Michigan was able to score.
And I feel as though that from watching them, they have a culture. They're a very close-knit group all around. And it seems to me that the way they just believe in one another, believe in themselves, and kind of like, we don't really care about projections. We don't really care about what other people are saying about us. We're just going to go out, do our jobs, and do it to the best that we know how. And obviously they can do it in the distance events, they can do it in sprints, they can do it in field, and it really culminated out on the track in Athens a couple weeks ago, or last week.
Right, and being able to get not only having only one name carry the team, that's not enough to be able to get those points. If they're able to have Aiden Beth and all these different names that were able to take podium this past weekend, those points start to add up, and I feel like that's one of Kent State's strong suits, where EMU and Akron were the second and third spots this past weekend, only scoring 140 and 128 points. I feel like they only had like 1 or 2 names, where we had 5 or 6 different individuals taking those podium spots for these events.
Yeah, and I believe that that's going to transition to the outdoor season. as well, because that's a big stretch in the schedule. And now you have this kind of mojo where you're like, hey, we're the indoor champs. You don't think we can take it outside? That's exactly what that mentality of that team is. I'm sure of it. So it's only going to be a matter of time before those numbers and the wins and the victories that they transition to the outdoor season.
Oh, they for sure transferred to the outdoor season, especially, being able to, like you said, coming with that mojo, being like, we just did it indoor, you know, we just have to continue what they're doing and just make sure that they don't have that as like, okay, we just won the indoor, we've totally got the outdoor. They still have to continue with that hard work and still continue getting podiums like they've been able to do, with the indoor. And then, moving from one MAC championship to a MAC championship race,
Mm-hmm.
we have both men's basketball and women's basketball. Let's start with men's basketball first, though, as their Tuesday win over Buffalo. The Kent State men's basketball team is currently 14-14 after their win following their 4-24 win over Buffalo, the 76-64 Tuesday night. 14-14.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary to look at this point.
But you know what? About a couple weeks ago, the general consensus in talking with sources was the only way that the Golden Flashes won't be able to go to Cleveland and compete for a MAC title is that straight up if they lose out. Buffalo came in bottom tier team in the Mid American Conference, so it was just a matter of regrouping, playing your style of ball, and just going out and executing. That's the big thing. Just going out and just playing your brand, and that's exactly what they did. So now I'm not entirely sure on if a spot was clinched. I don't believe so.
It has not been yet.
But if that is the case, especially with this win over Buffalo, they are primed to have that spot on lockdown, barring anything crazy happening.
Well, looking towards the last three games that Kent State has to face, they have Central Michigan, Ball State, and Toledo going into this. Out of those, the scary name there is Toledo.
Yep. And don't really the one thing that you can't really put a question mark on, or really just you can't overlook those other opponents, because Central Michigan is a tough team. That's your last home game. Now, granted, when they went to CMU, they lost 62 to 77-62. Ball State, that's a tough team as well. And they won 82-69, but can you go out and do the same thing on the road? And then obviously you have that monster in Toledo, who's a top 2, top 3 MAC team. So it's just a matter of saying, okay, we really need to rise to that next level of play, because I spoke with a couple of the players on last Saturday's win against NIU, and they're not really sugarcoating it. They know what's at stake. They know that, going to the MAC tournament isn't really a given. So they realize what's in front of them, and it's a matter of planning it out. So if they're just a matter of like, oh yeah, they're just going to think they're going to go in. No, that's not the case. They realize that their future isn't really, what's the word I'm looking for? It isn't confirmed. It's not on lock. So they know that they need to go out, execute, and really just find another style of play that they haven't had all year.
Right, and you're saying how their future's not in lock. I 100% agree. The future for the Flashes, like right now, is 100% in their own hands.
Mm-hmm.
How do they look coming out against CMU, especially with that being their last home game? It's one of those situations. They're in a must-win situation if they want to get to Cleveland, and with CMU, Ball State, they're both manageable games. If they can just come in, play a powerful game, they're both winnable. And I might even say that Toledo is also kind of a winnable game if they just come out with a whole nother look that we haven't really seen this season. I still say that, MAC championship for them is a very likely thing if they can come out and play the basketball that they need to play.
This is a very team-oriented style of play. So now you're relying on not just Chris Payton, not just Jalen Soder, who dropped 31 the other night against Buffalo. So it's going to be a matter of, okay, we can't really have one guy shine above the others in order for this thing to work. We really need to rely on one another for us to get to Cleveland in the first place in the MAC tournament, and then see if we can make a little bit of a run here. And obviously the goal for this team is to go back-to-back, but, that's... You got to start small, and starting small is just getting to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Right, and back to back is definitely something that they're looking for. But with Sullinger with putting that the 30 points against Buffalo, it's not about those main starter names. They need the players from the bench to be able to rise up and be able to fill in those gaps. When those players aren't on the court, they still have to be able to make plays and make those scores to be able to keep up and maintain leads. I know that's been a big thing that Kent State has struggled with, is maintaining those leads going through the back half of the first quarter and the beginning of the second quarter, and just being able to actually just power through rest of the play.
And the bench has been stepping up as of late because they have been, I think, the last couple of games that they've played in about a 4 or 5 game stretch, they've been against teams that they've blown out and they've gotten that time on the court. And I think the Buffalo game helped a lot because Magnus Sentiment had a really good game, probably the best of his college career. But I wanted to circle back on the Toledo matchup. In Toledo, they are 17-11 overall, 11-4 in MAC play, 11-3 at home. So this is a tough draw, to say the least, for Kent State in terms of the final game of the regular season, especially in a year where your future is kind of in limbo, to put it best. But it's just a matter of, okay, we got to really buckle down, maybe watch that extra couple minutes of film, just get prepared for what's at stake because you know what's in front of you.
That's right. And, I believe that the men's basketball, they have it. It's going to be a tough one going into the last 3 games. Let's go over now to the women's basketball side. They also have 3 games left here, facing, pretty similar teams. They had a win last night over Eastern Michigan. And just a huge night coming from Katie Shoemate, Jenna Bash, and Diona Gray. Them 3 combined last night had 56 points out of the total. That's a lot. Again, just the same thing, just different story here of relying on the same 3 players and not getting anything like from the bench. That's hard, especially going into the MAC championship.
Yeah, and especially with the fact that, there could be, if they win out, that's another 20-win season for Todd Starkey and his crew. And I feel as though, because I was on the call for the Akron game, and the one thing that was kind of stuck out to me in terms of the mindset of this team is the fact that, look, they have their MAC tournament spot clinched. They're a top 3 team in the standings right now. But they are not, but they are playing teams that are on the bottom looking kind of up, that are around the bubble, and need these wins. So they're going to play their best basketball. They can't sit back, Kent State, because obviously who knows what can happen in the standings. There could be flip flop. Heck, they're playing Ball State and Toledo in the last 2 games of the season. Those are the 2 teams that are above them in the MAC regular season standings. So anything can happen. You can't really let your foot come off the gas pedal when you're talking about the rest of the way home for Kent State women's basketball.
Yeah, because you talked about Ball State and Toledo again, the top 2 teams, a very very hard face off for the women's basketball. As once again, Buffalo is their last home game. They have to go to Ball State. They have to go to Toledo to face these teams. It's gonna be a hard race to the finish. But again, like you said, you can't let off the gas because these 2 teams are the 2 teams that stand above them. With wins and being able to push through that, they could end up in like the second or first seed very easily.
Yeah, Ball State has been really good in conference play this season. That's why they are where they are. And Toledo, those 2 teams played the last time, I believe it was in Savage Arena, and Toledo beat them by over 20, 25 points. And I kind of said this a couple weeks ago on our Friday show, Overtime, on TV2. This was a talking point that, look, Ball State, they're dangerous. But Toledo is the masterclass of the Mid-American Conference in terms of the women's basketball ranks because they're kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs. And I feel as though a big reason why is because of their head coach, Trisha Kolb. She has led them to numerous MAC titles, multiple appearances in the women's NCAA tournament, multiple appearances in the women's NIT, and she just knows how to coach her girls. The culture is there already, and she just knows what it takes to elevate them to a level of play that not only they can beat themselves, but they can beat other opponents while doing so. So that's going to be a real tough test for Kent State. And in talking to sources, it seems as though that, look, Kent State needs to either just find another way to win, or, it looks as though that Toledo could be going back to back. And unless we see a new level of play from Kent State, it's probably going to be Toledo because that's the general feeling. They lost when they were in this building, so now they have to go back, and again, kind of like the men, they have to go to Toledo. So you kind of ask yourself, okay, what are they going to have to do in order to find that new level? So to me, what jumps off the page is just fast break offense, because it seems as though that if you execute that really well, you're going to wear out the defense. Because with Kent
for
State,
sure.
their offense on the fast break is just go, just score in like 3 or 4 seconds. We saw that a lot in the Akron game.
Yeah, we also saw that a lot against Eastern Michigan last night. They went on an 11-0 run late in the fourth quarter, but then Katie Shumate again being able to step up and have that higher level of play. She put the stop to that 11-0 run by scoring 5 in a row for herself.
Katie Shumate can do pretty much anything on a basketball court, offensively, defensively. She's kind of like their five-headed horse, if you will. So what do you do now? You lean on the supporting cast, team game. Obviously, Katie Shumate can take over, but when she's on the bench, she can't do anything.
Exactly, you have to be able to call up these other players that they have surrounding her and being like, okay, we can get everyone even on just a higher level. I think and at the end of the day, that's how they beat Toledo.
A couple of names that stand out to me: Deanna Gray. She filled in for the injured Corinne Hauser. Likely out for the year, but we're not too sure of that. But Deanna Gray kind of came in in that first game against Old Dominion a couple weeks back. Played like her hair was on fire. She looked like she had that starting point guard job for the entire season. You can tell from the opening tip that she knew what was in front of her again, and just realized that the assignment, where Kent State was and where they needed to go, and she just has answered the call. Another name that stands out to me is Janae Tyler. This is her first time with Kent State, year one. She has proven herself as one of the best reserves in the Mid-American Conference. She can also score from anywhere, but she's physical down low. She's not really willing to give in. She can bully you on the inside. And that's exactly what Kent State needs, is that big body. Because, to be honest with you, they don't really win the height game with some of these opponents that they're facing. So you're going to need that little extra get down low, get fouls. That's how you're going to win the game. And I feel as though that's the big reason why they beat Akron by so much, is because of the fact that, look, they knew what they wanted to do with the fast break tempo offense, but when they had to run their set, after Akron scored a bucket, they got down low, got the contact, and even in some instances an and one, and they earned their points at the line.
Right, and that's the thing, is being able to get these other players to really step up, to be able to play that physical game, really just that grit that they have to have. And, like I said, going into Ball State, going into Toledo, that's how they're going to be able to win it at the end of the day. Well, with that, the women's basketball team and the men's basketball team will both be at the MAC Center this weekend. The women will take on Buffalo first at 1 p.m., and then right after, the men's will take on CMU at 3:30. Guys, we'll be right back. We'll have a little bit more of Kent State to this different sports here to talk about. We'll be right back. Thank you guys so much for listening to In a Flash. Raw.
Nice.
All right. Baseball, field hockey. Next two things.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can stay for this last block if you want to call it, and then I'll...
Yeah, because I'll probably do baseball, hockey, do another break, and then go into
Cool.
Iowa versus Ohio State.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, those did you see those ticket prices for that game?
It's nuts. Crazy.
The highest ticket
Crazy.
price I saw was $3,853
Oh my goodness.
for like courtside stuff.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh man. I appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, for sure. This is awesome. This is
See you.
great time we're having. Baseball, field hockey.
We're gonna go back in 3 minutes.
3 minutes, cool.
Yeah, it's a little over 3. It's closer to 4, but
Oh, okay.
that's just how long this song is.
Gotcha. Interesting. But yeah, I did this. I trained to be a DJ at the radio station I called Games for,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing was it was a top 40 station, and the program directors, I was like, 20s, lovely, that type of thing. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, I got you. And I tried it, and I'm like, I can do it. It's just not me. I'll be like, oh, I just feel weird doing it, but Yeah, this is really nice. I was gonna say, this is cool. I
Yeah.
like how we can implement this type of thing.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out different ways that, I can branch out with, like, sports. And, like, worst case scenario is I try it for the semester, I'm like, oh, I don't like it, and I just never have to do it ever again.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. What song is playing in the thing for a commercial?
I was gonna say, it's whatever they have queued up at this point. I straight out told Colin, I'm like, I'm not putting playlists together. I'm not. It's whatever you have queued up, that's what we get.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Do you know who the directors for VS are? Was it Colin or someone else?
Colin.
It's Colin. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
As I say, I think this is, out of my 3 shows, I think this is the first show I don't have any lacrosse stories on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Man.
I think I said my piece about lacrosse last week.
Yeah, were they off this week? Or?
No, they're playing.
Oh, they're playing?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's just, I have nothing more to say on that right now. Yeah, they are not doing great.
Oh, no. It's okay. Still early in the year.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, that's okay. We're about to talk about another team that's not doing very great.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Baseball.
I don't know, I think being in the South kind of trips them up a little bit. But
Yeah.
that is what it is. They'll be back in, actually, next Tuesday.
Yeah, I got with Leonardi to figure out what games and whatnot. Because I told him, like, I feel bad because half the time when baseball's in town, lacrosse is in town.
Oh, you're doing baseball too with them?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I thought you were just lacrosse.
Well, I started off as just baseball, and then we were sharing baseball.
Ah,
And then
yeah,
I told Gabe, I'm like, hey, over break I got, like, super into lacrosse. I'm like, can I cover that too?
Yeah, yeah, nice.
Like, minute 10.
I'm announcing lacrosse games too for PA, so
Nice.
it's a fun team, fun game. But yeah, definitely high action. And I remember I did it all of high school too, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And then sure enough, I get in. I'm like, it's probably the most fun one.
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually, I do want to branch into doing more, like, that side of, like, broadcasting and whatnot. Eventually.
Yeah.
I'm not
Gotcha.
rushing.
Yeah, no, take your time. Take your time. It all goes by really fast.
As I say, I got time.
Yeah.
I got semesters, so
Mhm.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I think one of the main reasons why I started this radio show is just so I got better at being able to just talk. And
Yeah.
to talk well.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it, because that's kind of why I like doing overtime, just unscripted conversation.
I do need to hop on there eventually too, but I'm not in no hurry for that either.
Oh yeah.
Alright.
Cool.
All right, we are back. We have Matt Crawley here joining us. Welcome back to In a Flash. We just talked about a little bit about, our men's basketball team, women's basketball team. Let's switch over to a different spring sport here. Kent State's baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? They're 1-7 overall. Season just got underway. They're out in the South right now. Not a great road trip for the Flashes, but you know what? I feel as though that for some of these teams that play in the eastern side of the country, Midwest, college baseball is starting to kick off here. That can kind of throw off a team's vibe a little bit, because they're kind of, different accumulated to the weather and all that stuff. At least that's just my personal opinion on it all. And that may trip them up. And I think that's kind of what's going on here with Kent State. They're 1-7, like we mentioned earlier. Got swept by Louisiana Tech. Lost 2 out of 3, to North Carolina Wilmington, and ended up dropping 2 games to Troy. But I will say, 12-11 their last time out on Wednesday. So that's a little bit encouraging. The offense has been getting the bats going. But for pitching, a little bit of cause for concern. 6 runs are given up against Troy, but in Louisiana Tech, 13, 10, and 8. A little bit of reason for discomfort. They did have a really good outing, 8-2 in the win against NC Wilmington, but in the 2 losses, 7 and 8 runs were given up in those 2 losses. So they have a chance against Jacksonville State and Alabama this weekend to kind of turn that around before they head home on Tuesday for the home opener against Tiffin.
That's right. I mean, again, we're just going to go back to last night's game. It was a defeat 12-11. 12-11, but that was such a close game. Kent State started off with a very, very strong lead. Absolute terrific night for Dom Kibler and Tim Orr, both with home runs. I mean, Kibler notched his first college home run last night. Orr had 2 home runs himself. They're able to get who they need to get on base. They're able to bring them home. It's just on that other side with the defense. That's where they're just kind of struggling. They were able to have that lead, but Troy was able to chisel at that lead and just go through the game, and it just wasn't enough to be able to hold that off. And again, with that pitching concern, they have to make adjustments. Is that more so a fielding adjustment, or is that more a pitching lineup adjustment?
Something that jumps off the page to me looking at this box score here, Kent State was up 11-6 going into the 8th. So now you had 2 runs given up in that inning, or 3, excuse me. So now it's an 11-8 game. Now you got a ball game here, and all of a sudden, bottom of the 9th, RBI double that scored 2, and then the eventual walk-off that ended up scoring 2 as well to win the game for Troy. So it's just a matter of, hey, can the bullpen just kind of buckle down and settle these games out and just calm the nerve? Obviously, beginning of the year, things that just need worked out, and I feel as though, especially when we get into conference play later in the year, those will be kind of fished out. It's just first of the year jitters, for lack of a better word, because Kent State is favored to win the Mid-American Conference regular season title in the coaches poll.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this 1-7 is any form of we need to set off alarms, and we need to panicked about it, because they're getting stuff done where they need to on the offensive side. It's about fine tuning these pitches, about fine tuning what they're able to do, getting the nerves calmed down, because coming off of last season and coming into this one, everybody's looking at Kent State. Everybody's like, what are they going to do coming into the season? And that's a lot of pressure to put on a team, especially like you said, with baseball like starting to get into its full swing. I mean, March, April, you have all these eyes on these teams. I feel like it's about fine tuning.
Yeah, and especially with the fact that you had a couple of those guys lost to the draft, especially the Matt Closer of the year. So, but that's okay, because the majority of your lineup is guys that played in that tournament last year. And obviously that was a good experience for not only the program but the university as well, hosting the MAC tournament, hosting all those games, winning the regular season. It brought good attention to the city, to the campus, and all that stuff to the program as well. Now it's just a matter of finishing the job. And I feel as though that, yes, the lineup is there, but can the pitching just buckle down, like we mentioned earlier, and just make sure that they are executing on their side of the game, and just ended up, taking these games home, because MAC play is going to come up. Obviously, I think they'll settle in then, like we mentioned earlier. It's just going to be a matter of time. This just reminds me of like how the Guardians would always start off kind of slow in April and March. I think that's because of the cold weather and where they're playing, but they always seem to heat up by June, July. And as you go along that route, that's kind of seemed to be where they hit their stride.
And I think that goes with like any team. You have to like get back in the swing of things. You have to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're here making puns in a flash.
Totally intended, no.
Boy.
But with this and just getting warmed up, you said that they're gonna come home, and I feel like that's truly we're gonna see what the Golden Flashes are about. Like once they get home, they're in they're in their season. They're starting to go into MAC play a little bit. Like I said, 1-7. That's no need to cause for any alarms quite yet.
They have a thing in the program called Scooty Magic, and a little bit of they play at Schoonover Stadium, for those of you that don't know, and they call it Scooty Magic, and they like to this is a very good team when they're at home. So now it's just going to be a matter of, okay, we know who we are at home. Can we take that on the road? Obviously, what's in the past is in the past. Can you come back, buckle down, win the games you need to? And I'm especially looking forward to when they're playing Ball State, because that was the team that came back in the final inning of the Mid-American Conference Championship on Schoonover Stadium, and they ended up taking it from the Golden Flashes, and I'm interested to see how Kent State adjusts to that matchup against the Cardinals, because that loss is in the back of their minds for sure, especially head coach Jeff Duncan.
Of course, it's in the back of their mind. I mean, that was a very big game coming off of last season, and I feel like that once they come home, once they feel that energy of being at home, I feel like that's when their season really kicks off for them, and that will definitely be a turning point for them. It's just making sure that they can win these games before they come home because they still got a little bit of this road trip left.
Yes, and I feel as though that the program, or excuse me, the university here loves this baseball team. They really like to show out for them, especially when they have teams like Ohio State who's coming to Schoonover, like Pitt who's coming to Schoonover. So now you have these teams coming in, they draw good crowds, and you don't think this team feeds off the energy? I mean, this team really loves it when the community shows out. So it's only going to be, like we've said throughout the show, it's only going to be a matter of time before Kent State kind of finds that rhythm. When you see them kind of climbing up that record, come back to this when we say, hey, you know what? I think it's just because they're in the South, feeling things out. Let's see what happens when they come back to the Northeast, or excuse me, the Midwest even, and back in the Mid-American Conference play.
Yeah, so I mean, big games coming up. They just got to get their energy in check. I feel like they're going to be able to do that. So it'll be a very interesting team to keep an eye on. Their next game, like you were saying, will be against Jack State in Jacksonville State on March 1st, 7 p.m. You can catch that game on ESPN Plus. Now, moving from the diamond, we're gonna go back to the field again. We got field hockey. Big news coming out of that with the Golden Flashes parting way with field hockey coach Kyle DeSantis Moyer. That's a big deal as the Golden Flashes were able to go 5-2 in MAC play in 2023.
Yeah, this is a statement from Randall Richmond, the athletic director, about the departure, saying, "We want to thank Coach DeSantis Moyer for the last 5 seasons as head coach of the Golden Flashes. We wish her best of luck in her future endeavors." Now they're going to have an assistant on the staff. It's Cody Hunsicker that he will take over the reins for the time being until they find a permanent replacement. But Coach DeSantis Moyer did a really good job with this program. Like we mentioned, 5 years with the team. I've called a couple of field hockey games. She does a really good job of establishing that culture of what Kent State field hockey is today. And it's going to be tough because, you know what, last season, 5-2 in conference play. They haven't lost more than 3 conference games since 2011. Have finished first or second in the MAC since 2006. So this is a storied program in terms of field hockey in the Mid-American Conference. So to whoever comes in next, they'll know that this is a high-standard program. And are you going to elevate that to new standards? And to be honest with you, Katie, I wouldn't be surprised if Cody Hunsicker becomes the permanent head coach because he's been in the staff. That's why. Obviously, we don't know anything that goes on in there, but from the outside looking in, it would be a good move if they were to appoint Cody Hunsicker as head coach, with him being the interim for the moment.
Yeah, with him being the interim for the moment, there was a statement saying that they're having a national search for a new coach. I feel like bringing in someone from the outside, it would be good. But I feel like having somebody who's already been established, as we've been doing good, 5-2 in MAC play last season, I feel like sticking with somebody who's been in this environment, keeps this energy, I feel like is better off for the Flashes. But like you said, we're not 100% sure what's happening as, they have a plan. They know what they're doing. But I don't think they should mess with, the environment and the energy that they have as, with these wins.
This is what Randall Richmond said as well. "A national search for the new leader of the field hockey program will begin immediately as we continue our mission to graduate student athletes boldly prepared for life after sport and win championships." So it seems as though they're looking. And you know what? That's a good move because of the fact, just straight up, if you're in that field hockey world and you know about the Mid-American Conference, you know that Kent State, like we mentioned before, perennial program. So you can, if someone can bring that standard of excellence that's expected, and you can bring it onto the field come September and in the fall time, they'll succeed for sure.
Yeah, so they're making big moves outside of this, and I'm gonna bring this up again just because I feel like it's something that should be said. They finished either first or second since 2006. That's a really long time. That's almost 20 years of being able to be first or second within the MAC. I feel like that's intimidating for coaches outside of the MAC to be able to come into that and be able to still bring that energy, still be able to bring that winning. And looking nationally, I feel like there's going to be a lot of eyes on Kent State.
But wouldn't the right person want to come in here and just be like, you know what? I know what Kent State's about. I know what this program is about. I know what this team is about. I know the standard. Let's just bring it in and execute it to our highest level, because that would be the right person in my eyes to be like, hey, look, I understand what this program is all about. You know, you guys win seemingly every year, first or second place in the MAC since 2006. If you can get someone that understands that, that's going to be the key for the Golden Flashes field hockey crew going forward. I can almost assure you.
I completely agree. And it'll be something to definitely keep an eye on as we go through like their off season and whatnot. Coming up here after the break, we're gonna go a little more nationally, take a look at some different MLB news and whatnot coming out of news coming out of the NBA. Matt Crowley, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, not a problem. We'll be back right after this.
Cool.
I was gonna say I was trying to end that like the closest to 2:30 that I could.
Yeah, you're good. Thanks, Katie. I appreciate
course,
you.
thank you.
For sure. Have a good rest of your show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Katie, what's up? Sorry, I really haven't been paying attention to chat very much. Okay, we can have that off. We're good. We're good. Automation mode. We're taking a little bit of break here, guys, before we go into the next round. Here, we got an hour of our show left. We still got a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. Guys, if you are enjoying today's show, make sure to press the like button for me and also share out. If you guys want to enjoy the music while we're on break, or even if you want to listen and not listen on the stream, you guys can listen to blackscoreradio.com. I usually have it pinned. I forgot to today. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, I want to get more guests on like that. So if you guys enjoy the guests, I appreciate it. Which guys, if you want to, catch more of Matt Corrali, you guys can watch TV2 News, Kentwire.com, or you can follow TV2 KSU on YouTube as well. He sports anchors, and he also produces Sports Corner as well. Righty. And don't worry, guys, if you missed the episode or missed the previous episode, I don't have my first one because I didn't live stream with the first one, but I will have. I'm gonna edit them down and I'm gonna upload them to the channel so you guys will have a chance to see that. I don't know what half this music is. I'm literally just playing whatever they have queued up in there. So, smile. Also, guys, don't forget to stick around on Black Squirrel Radio as there's going to be other shows coming up after this. Oh boy. All right, what have we got coming up? Iowa and Ohio State. And then we're probably gonna go in the basketball. I don't know if we'll have time to get through all my stories today. Oh man, I was able to sleep and I'm still exhausted, friends. Alright, probably go back here in like 5 minutes. Get a nice, good break going. Need to pull up the rest of the stories. Had my notes there. All right. We'll go back in a couple minutes here. Let's go take a break. Oh. Hope everyone's day is going swell. Alright, pulling up some articles so I have some reference. Got my little bit of notes here. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 3. Whew. Just, I don't know if you guys can actually see it or not, but for reference. Oh, you guys can't see it. Never mind. For wave. Ooh, shouldn't probably have my sound on. I'm glad no one's tried to call me and text me because that's silly goofy. All right. I think I'm going to start with the Knicks. And then we'll move to the Clippers. Cute doggo pictures. I love how this is just randomly sitting on the desk. It's 104 days of summer vacation. No? No? Okay. Alright. One minute till we go back on air, guys, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of the NBA. Okay. I can't with YouTube comments anymore. Oh my god, that's so funny. Alright. We're going back. Welcome guys back to In a Flash. We have a little bit of NBA news here. Two different stories, couple different teams involved. It's alright. So we're gonna start here with the news yesterday that the NBA denied the game protest lodged by the New York Knicks in the aftermath of their 105-103 loss at the Houston Rockets earlier this month. And you're kind of wondering what the protest was about. Well, the league disputed the February 12th loss, citing concerns about the validity of the last second foul call that made the scoring difference. The league reaffirmed the refs blew the call, but not in a manner to uphold the protest. In a statement, it says New York was required to demonstrate that there was a misapplication of the official playing rules as opposed to an error in judgment by game officials, the league said in a release. Because the foul call at issue reflected the error in judgment, New York did not demonstrate a misapplication of playing rules, and the extraordinary remedy of upholding a game protest was not warranted. That is crazy to be able to be like, okay, it comes down to the last, the absolute last seconds of the game, and to be able to, when they have this dispute being like, was that foul actually necessary? Was it there to be able to, uphold the game's rules? Did they break the rules? And that was the question that was made. So what actually happened in the closing moments of the game? Knicks guard Jalen Brunson pulled New York they put New York even by hitting a 15-foot jumper shot with 8.1 seconds remaining. 8.1 seconds. That was the scoring difference. Aaron Holiday then attempted a desperation heave just before the buzzer, and Brunson was called for a foul on the play. So, they were able to go even. And then when they had a desperation shot, Holiday was fouled, and they broke the tie by sinking 2 free throws with 0.3 seconds remaining. That's not even enough to be able to inbound the ball and try to even a full court shot, which the chances of a full court shot actually going in or being able to get the ball to that in the time of 0.3 seconds is remarkable. So they went in, they protested it, saying that, hey, this game should have went to overtime, and it didn't because of this, foul, and it's interesting to me that, that the league said that New York, required to demonstrate that there was a misapplication of the official playing rules, as opposed to an error in judgment by the game officials. So I'm legitimately confused of how there was a misapplication of the rules, but it wasn't a misjudgment, so they're just gonna let it slide. The foul call at the issue reflected an error in judgment. New York did not demonstrate a misapplication, so they didn't think that they were able to. They weren't playing favorites, in a sense, is what happened there. In a sense that, hey, yes, there was a misjudgment. Yes, it happened, but in the time that it happened, it's not one of those things that was it had to go a certain way. It had to be done a certain way. So, yes, there was a misapplication, but they don't think it was an error in judgment. And that's why it went that way. So, in the history of NBA, how many protests have actually been held up? Well, there's an answer to that. There's only been 6 protests that have been upheld in the NBA history. The most recent one was in 2007. I'm going to let that sink in for a second there. 2007 was 17, if I'm doing the math here correctly, 17 years ago. Miami Heat center Shaquille O'Neal was ruled incorrectly have 6 instead of 5 fouls in the game against the Atlanta Hawks. The game resumed several months later to play the remaining 51.9 seconds from the incorrect call. Neither team scored, and the Hawks or 114 to 111 win stood. Buddy Neal had to been traded to the Phoenix Suns. So when they went back and they replayed that game, Shaq was already traded. I think it's interesting how they waited several months to replay the last couple seconds of that game. And I feel like that's why, they're not making this Knicks versus Rockets thing such a big deal, is because it was 8 seconds. Honestly, it was 0.3 seconds. Time they got to the point of the foul. So they would probably replay those last 8 seconds again. They probably just don't see what's the deal. But the question is gonna be looking at the NBA standings. Is it gonna determine where these different teams fall for the playoffs? New York Knicks, they are 4th right now in the Eastern Conference. That game with them losing to the Rockets can be a difference. Houston Rockets, they're just outside of the playoffs. That's a tough one. Those couple of seconds, even though the NBA is not taking any form of, further application of trying to look into the game, it still can have a long lasting impact. And I feel like that's interesting. But again, that denial coming yesterday, so it will upstand. New York Knicks lost to the Houston Rockets earlier this month. 105-103 will stand. Moving to the Knicks and Rockets, over to the Clippers. Man, the Clippers released the other day here about a new rebrand. We all know that they're coming into a new stadium. They're not going to be sharing Crypto Arena much longer with the Lakers. So it's interesting to see coming off of that. And of course, new logo was revealed, new jerseys was revealed. And honestly, looking at it, their jerseys are awesome. I love the lettering that they are. I love the colors, sticking with that blue, red, and white that, they have, had for a while. The new logo, it's really cool. I do like it. They do have a secondary logo of it being still the LA. The partial one is it's like the C with like a compass in it. So it is interesting. And the president of business operations at Intuit Dome said that we have been on a long journey gathering feedback and insights from across Clippers Nation. So that includes, those who work for the Clippers, fans of Clippers and whatnot. I mean, when I originally saw the logo and when it was revealed, I believe it was revealed yesterday or the day before, I wasn't too sure of it. Taking back and looking at it now, I really like this. I am a person for simplistic logos. The primary logo that they have, it's a lot. Now I understand, wanting to go to like the Clipper ship and like having this rebrand and, being able to have that within Intuit Dome, as like I previously said, they're not going to be sharing the Crypto Arena much longer with the Lakers. It's a big change. It's something that's definitely gonna need to get used to, and so they will relocate from downtown Los Angeles and Crypto.com Arena to Inglewood at the start of the 2024-2025 season. This will be the Clippers' second major rebranding in less than a decade, and the last one came in 2015. I definitely like it. I understand why they want to rebrand going into a new arena. This arena is being built specifically for them. The Intuit Dome has been one of the biggest talks around the Clippers And I'm personally very excited to see kind of like where this rebrand takes them. And not only like where the rebrand takes them, but being able to also encompass what the Clippers are, what the team stands for and whatnot is very exciting. So the new logo features the letter C designed to look like a compass surrounding a silhouette of an oncoming ship. Easter eggs for sharp-eyed fans include the north marking of the compass pointing to the N in Los Angeles, and the hull of a ship being designed to resemble the seams of a basketball. That's I do like. That's very unique. Based on the comments on the Clippers Instagram and X pages, reactions are largely split down the middle. And honestly, for my own opinion, I'm split down the middle for myself on that opinion. Some applaud the new logo, calling it clever, classic, and sick. Well, the good kind. And some people calling it boring, prestigious, and like everything else in between. And some people even comparing it from an expansion team or a small college. Again, I'm the person who likes simplistic logos. However, there's one thing that I do have to say about this rebrand. I love the court. The court is awesome. Intuit Dome, they released what like a rendering of what the court's gonna look like. Having blue like that and like red outlining of stuff is going to look awesome. I do like the Los Angeles Clippers in that sense with that logo of just having it there. The Clippers logo right now and the way it stands in the center of the floor, it's the fine balance of finding between simplistic and not simplistic. It'll definitely be exciting. I'm personally excited for Intuit Dome to be finished, and it's gonna be awesome. Last night, huge milestone for the Clippers and the Lakers, as it was their last game playing against the Lakers, with both of their homes being Crypto Arena. And unfortunately, the Clippers did take a loss to the Lakers last night, 116 to 112. That really shapes up, as we're starting to push into the back half of this NBA season. The Clippers currently stand at 37-20, as the Lakers currently stand at 32-28. Again, there's a lot there of being able to see this, but the Clippers, where they currently sit, they're fourth overall in the Western side of the NBA, and it's a very tight knit race right now, as the team that sits in first, which is currently Minnesota, is currently sitting at 42-17. So it's very close, all within a couple of games of one another, as the Lakers are just 32-27 or 28. Excuse me. So yes, they're 10 games behind first, but they're only like 5 games behind the Clippers. So it was a big overall night for the Clippers. Unfortunate loss. Huge for the Lakers, though, as, again, we start to kind of, it's not to the point where it's like, okay, it's NBA, finals time, it's all this, but at this point, it's practically March. They only have 2 months of playing. Well, even, like, not even a full 2 months, like, more, like, 6 weeks. Still a lot of basketball to play, very close, and it's going to be exciting going towards the end here. Shifting a little bit back from the NBA, however, let's take a step back. Let's go to women's basketball, another huge just basketball game in general, coming this weekend. Just like a little preview here of the Iowa. It's a women's basketball, Iowa versus Ohio State. I don't know where I want to begin with this preview. As women's basketball, Iowa ranked 6, OSU is ranked 2 for the final game of the season. Will be on Sunday. I mean, we have a lot that goes into this. Last time these two teams faced off, there was in Ohio, and Ohio State was able to pull off the win. They were at that time they were ranked 18. Iowa was ranked 2. And they were able to beat them in overtime. So a lot of is gonna be going into this game of what happens to these rankings. These two teams, arguably some of the best two teams in women's basketball right now. But taking a step back from looking at the stats, looking at the players, looking at all these different things, ticket prices for these game is actually crazy. These ticket prices, just the cheapest ticket price that I could find to be able to get in the door is $491. That was the cheapest ticket I could find. This broke Caitlin Clark's breaking records, but this is not the type of record I was expecting this team or her to be able to break. Is the most expensive ticket to a women's basketball game. $491. That's the cheapest. The next one, the average to be able to get into this game was $577, and the most expensive one that I could find, and this is going to be able to get you the best seat in the house, the best thing in the house, was $3,853. Yes, $3,000 for a women's basketball ticket. That is crazy to me. Now, thinking about the most expensive sporting event that I can think of is the Super Bowl. These ticket prices are comparable to Super Bowl ticket prices. That's crazy for a women's basketball game. Again, it's a matchup between Ohio State and Iowa. This price, of course, was set to be able to make the ticket prices more fair for the chance to give everyone a chance to buy these tickets, because like I said, these are two of the most prominent teams right now in women's basketball in NCAA, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens between these teams. Is last time it was a really close game. Caitlin Clark led the Hawkeyes with 45 points on the overtime loss to OSU. That was one of her career highest scoring games. Also, Clark broke Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for women's large college record last night against the Minnesota Gophers. And so, the more she breaks records, the more we're able to do this. No wonder these prices are so high, just because so many people want to see Caitlin Clark play. I mean, do you want to buy a $500 ticket just to get into the door? We all know that stadium is gonna sell out. We all know it. There's no ways around it. It's gonna happen. And honestly, it's going to be exciting to see what happens. Of course, we will talk about what the final happens, and we'll kind of do a March Madness preview here coming in the next couple weeks, as we are about to be in that time of year. I mean, we got all these different championships wrapping up. It's a great time for basketball. But coming up after the break, we have a spring training outlook, and we also have some news coming out of the NFL. Guys, stick around. Thank you guys so much for watching. Not watching. More so listening. I mean, if you're watching me on YouTube, at KatieWaggle52, you guys can, or keep listening on here. We'll be right back. Slay. Oh man, my hands hurt from fiddling with that pen. Oh man, okay, we'll be done by 45. When we get back, it's gonna be, we got a half an hour left in the show. So, we're gonna talk about Guardians, we're gonna talk about who to watch in spring training. trying to pull up some articles so I have reference. That's 23. Oh boy. Whew. I have to rest my voice. I've been doing a lot of yapping. Oh. Guys, again, if you want to listen on the radio, listen to music while I'm in break, make sure you guys check out blackskullradio.com and also follow them on social media. So, story. I'm not smiling like that for real. Ew, I still don't like that picture either. Yeah, we're gonna do that. My stories. Yay! Yippee! Yippee skippy! My thumb hurts from playing with that pen. Oh man, oh man. Oh right. Oh, the Zach Wilson trade. That's another one that we're gonna talk about. think we're going to start with Zach Wilson. Alright, we're going to go back. Once this song is over. Oh, man, oh, man. I promise, I got plenty of sleep. Oh, I'm just tired. Had a lot to do today. I never know some of the stuff that's on this back wall. I could literally sit here and look at this wall, like, forever. There's so much cool stuff on it. I get distracted very easily. Oh boy. All right, minute 30. We got him back. That'll leave us like 30 minutes, give or take. Start with Zach Wilson. Okay. I had a concern for a second. Oh, wait. A couple seconds here. We're gonna go back here. Thank you guys all for watching. Again, you can listen live, blacksquirrelradio.com. All right, welcome back to In a Flash, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Oh, of course, you guys can't stay up to date with everything that I do on any social media platform at KatieWaggle52. And of course, make sure to follow Black Squirrel Radio on socials as well so you can stay up to date with other shows, with just the different cool things that other people here make. Guys, let's jump right back into it here. We are going to talk a little bit about some news I found to be interesting coming out of the NFL with the news that GM Joe Douglas confirms that the team has been given quarterback Zach Wilson permission to seek trade coming from at Rap Sheet on X. And I feel like that's an interesting move, especially since they're expecting Aaron Rodgers to be able to start in 2024 season. That doesn't necessarily mean Wilson will be traded. However, it's still an option that they're giving Wilson is to be able to seek a trade to get out of New York. And that kind of, it starts the debate of what's best for Wilson at this point, especially with Aaron Rodgers expected to be returning in August, in September, when the season starts to kick back off again. It's hard to say at this point with Wilson being 24 years old and one more season under contract, assuming the Jets or his next team does not pick up his fifth-year team option next off season. What franchise may be the best fit for Wilson is a big talk to revive his NFL career. And honestly, I think at this point, it's not best for Wilson to get out of New York, but I think it's New York's best option to not have him on the roster anymore. He was needed at the beginning of the 2023 season. He was needed when Aaron Rodgers did go down with his injury, but he was not able to show up. He did not show up like the way that he fully needed to, and I feel like that's very disappointing. Different teams are going to look at that, and honestly, what franchise is the best for him if New York's not a fit? Well, keep in mind, no teams have actually expressed them wanting Wilson. However, the number 2 overall pick could tempt some franchises, according to SportingNews.com. Now, granted, Wilson has started 33 out of 34 games that he has appeared in since 2021. But again, there's a lot of question around his actual worth as a quarterback. Wilson's going to take a look around the NFL. He should hope for a team with a history of developing quarterbacks. I mean, he has potential. He has shown potential in some games. I feel like there's a big coaching separation, and it just one of those. I think he's one of those players that if he plays backup for a little while, I feel like Wilson could be a better quarterback, could be a quarterback that a team potentially needs. Now this article does go on to say different landing spots that Wilson could look for, and I think it's interesting of the 49ers, Green Bay Packers, Rams being top 3 options. I think out of those, I feel like that the Rams would be a good option for Zach Wilson. However, he would be second in the quarterback lineup to Matt Stafford. The Rams are expecting Matt Stafford to be under center and under the leadership of the head of Coach McVay for the 2024 season. I feel like, however, with Matt Stafford being on the Lions as long as he was, being able to go from the Lions to the Rams, get a Super Bowl win with the Rams, and then be able to continue that, I feel like it'd be a good step for Stafford's career and also a good step for Wilson's career, especially the Rams need to be looking towards the future as, Matt Stafford is now getting in age and is overall didn't do, what he needed to do, riddled with injuries and whatnot coming off this last season. I feel like it's a good fit for Wilson's future, playing that patient game, being able to have a mentor. And I feel like that's one thing that Wilson was missing this season was the mentorship of Aaron Rodgers with that injury and him not being on the field and being able to see how he operates. And I feel like that's one of the things that Wilson is missing, and that's why I don't feel like anymore at this point that his future should be with the Jets. I feel like he's gonna have to take a back seat to a seasoned quarterback and see what's that like a little bit. But here's the thing. With his age, with his draft class, other teams might be looking at him outside of the 49ers and the Packers. Other teams could start to look at him as a starter. I don't think that's a very good idea. We saw what he could do for the last couple years as a starter for the Jets. He needs more mentorship. He needs more coaching to be able to become that player at the level at which they need him to be. So that'll be something to keep an eye on here coming in the next couple weeks, especially as we get ready for the NFL Combine this weekend. Big eyes, big names, lots of eyes on that this weekend. The Combine is actually set to start tonight and run through the weekend. So it will be a lot of fun to keep an eye on that. The coverage does start 3 p.m. today. So actually, the coverage just started for the Combine. However, moving from the NFL to the MLB, we have I don't want to say the season's in full swing quite yet, as we're still looking at preseason games here. The spring training is still going on, and let's first start with the Guardians. The Guardians, there was a lot of questions coming off of last season, going into the season is what are they going to do in certain positions? What are they going to be able to do? Who's going to fill these different names? And one of the names that really come up is Tyler Freeman as a center fielder. And honestly, last night in the spring training game, Tyler Freeman made an impressive catch at center field. And that's the thing, is that's one of the positions that the Cleveland Guardians need to look at, is someone who is able to play that outfielder position. And also, not only that, but there is, a huge question around other positions, also an infielder and also on the mound. The once infielder of Tyler Freeman, has never played any other position outside of the diamond. Freeman made his center field debut in Cleveland spring training matchup last night against the Arizona Diamondbacks and made it a positive first impression, and that is good to see. The Guardians need more of that. Tyler Freeman made a debut in the CF versus D-backs. The first time Freeman had played in the outfield game was during a high school all-star game. Guardians Perspective on X tweeted out. So that'll definitely be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. But outside of that, taking a huge step, the Cleveland Guardians are somewhat struggling a little bit through the spring training here, as they have a lot to figure out. They unfortunately yesterday, the game that I was just talking about against the Arizona Diamondbacks, that was their third loss in the Cactus League. 8-6, they were defeated. They have currently 90 players representing the Guardians during spring training, 40-man roster, 22 non-roster invitees, 28 depth camp players. In each game's roster will vary. So, with that though, there's 4 players that really stood out yesterday. Alex Replenez, an outfielder, of course, was limited to just seven games with the Double-A, the Akron Rubber Ducks last season to an injury. So it's very nice to see him back on the field for Major League. Another big name, Jose Ramirez for third base. Of course, Emmanuel Clace, and Eli Morgan. Of course, we talked about Tyler Freeman being able to switch positions. So there's a lot of moving parts moving in to the Guardians and whatnot with how spring trainings look. Now, hear me out though. There's a lot of spring training to happen still. There's a lot of games to still happen within this Cactus League. We just have to keep an eye on it and kind of see what's gonna develop from these games. What's gonna develop from them as they keep their patience, as they move on. It's a whole different game once they start getting rosters locked in. Again, the opening day game is gonna be April 8th in Cleveland, and yes, that is the day of the eclipse. So that will definitely be something to keep an eye on as we move through March into April once we get baseball back into full swing. And with that, guys, we will be right back to do our final little bit here of the day. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will be right back. Oh. I have to keep pressing the right button. All right, we got 15 minutes here. Probably just going to do a quick little summary. And then we're going to wrap up the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. See how the short's going. I do need to upload those the shorts that I posted today or yesterday to the TikTok. That will be definitely interesting indeed. Oh yeah, I always forgot what I was doing. Oh, 111 views in an hour is not bad. $111. Okay. Not bad, not bad. Not bad for the fact that we changed our content of what we've been posting on YouTube. So I will take 111 views in an hour. And it's not bad numbers at all. Wearing my Power jersey today. All right. I'm gonna go back in like 3 minutes here and then we'll wrap up our show. Appreciate everyone for hanging out with me today. Again, if you missed this episode or previous episodes, they will be uploaded individually, or you can always rewatch these live streams as I do keep the VODs on. It's however you guys prefer your streaming experience here. Do, 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 do. Alright, after this song, we're gonna go back and wrap up our show. Oh. I love this song. write myself notes so I don't forget what else to say. Welcome on back to In a Flash. Guys, we had so much to talk about today. We had so much to do. We had, reviewing, Kent State baseball falling behind here 1-7. Again, not much to really worry about. They have their next game on March 1st. Huge weekend again for Kent State sports. Got a double header at the MAC for women's and men's basketball. You can catch both of those games on ESPN Plus. Guys, that's gonna do it for me today. I wanna have a special thanks to Matt Corrali for joining me earlier in the show, and of course you can follow me on social media at KatieWaggle52. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. If you guys want to follow more with more sports and what I'm involved in and what Matt is involved in, you can follow TV2 KSU Sports on Instagram and TikTok. You can also find different streams of our sports shows, Sports Corner and Overtime, that was referenced in the show, on YouTube. And of course, you can find them live on Monday nights at 8 p.m. on catwire.com or on that YouTube. I want to have a special thanks to Black Square Radio, of course, for letting me host this show here. Guys, stick around. There's going to be other shows. So if you're interested, you're listening, you're having a good day, you want to listen to more music, guys, make sure to stick around for other shows that follow this. Thank you so much for watching In a Flash, guys. And again, a special thanks to Matt Crowley. Guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good night. Alright, guys. Well, there we have it. That was the last little bit of our show. Again, I want to thank Matt Corrali for joining us. And, yeah. So have a great rest of your day. If you guys haven't already, make sure to like and follow. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.